All right, perfect. So to get started, my name is Aaron Harlow. I'm the head wrestling coach for the boys and girls over here at Coronado Wrestling, where it says Coach Joe on there. If you can unmute so they can hear you and see your face pops up. Coach Joe is one of our assistant coaches. Joe, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, how you doing? I'm Coach Joe. Assisting this year, so also part of the Booster Club, which we'll talk about later.
Yeah. So just to kind of talk about us really quick so you can all know, I've coached at Coronado for 8 years. So is Joe. Joe was the former head coach, and then I've been the head coach for the past 2 years. He kind of stepped back so he could take care of all of his duties at work, take care of his family because he also has two kids that are on the team. So he kind of wanted to not necessarily be fully in the way of that, pretty much be a good father and not be in the way of having to figure out how to coach and be a father at the same time. And I've been the coach for the past 2 years. He's been helping out mainly kind of taking care of our finances in the booster club side, which we will kind of talk about in a bit, to let everyone know what's going on that end. But I've also coached in California for a few years, and over there helped my brother grow some programs to bring their team to some league championships and sent some wrestlers to universities all across pretty much all across the nation. And I see some boys and girls on our team this year that if they put in the hard work and they work hard and focus, there's some that we could actually send to universities as well. We had a wrestler last year that was getting looked at up by a university in Illinois until he decided he wanted to stay home and go to Northern Arizona that didn't have a wrestling team, which isn't a problem, but at least we can know that some of our wrestlers have been looked at by other universities too. So we're also going to have Coach Daryl Ekman. Daryl is how old is he? About like 75 or so. He's he's an old guy. He graduated from Coronado in the 70s, and he wanted to come back and help out with the school that he graduated from. He's a funny old salty guy, but he's got a good heart, and he's excited to kind of help out this year with all the kids. And then Joe's wife, Lisa Valenzuela, will also be kind of helping out more on the just to kind of make sure we have a female present for most of the girls. So that way they can have someone that's present for them. We're still working with the district, trying to get them to recognize girls wrestling as a separate sport as they should. They're being a little bit difficult in that aspect where we're trying to get it to where we can get them to approve us having a girls coach, so hopefully in the near future. So we also have a few high school Coronado alumni that are going to be helping out with us. We had Elliot Parker came in today. We've had Ryan, I'm blanking on his name, Duong, and then a couple other wrestlers, Dylan Cruz and stuff, or others that are going to be coming by and helping out. Hopefully they'll be able to get in there, kind of give your kids a little bit of insight what they went through, what they experienced to kind of help all your kids get to the level that they want to be in. So just wanted to kind of go and give a couple expectations, talk about some parent needs, uh, talk about ways that we're going to communicate with each other. Uh, Pretty much what we're going to require for practice and competition. Then we'll go into kind of booster club fundraising, and then we'll end with kind of going over the schedule. It's a little bit complicated. Boys will be pretty simple. Girls is going to be a little bit complicated, so I'll explain that one. But for our expectations this year, we happen to have a team this year where we have a lot of it's kind of weird. I think we kind of got rid of all the COVID kids, so it's kind of interesting to have kids that are more emotionally stable, but they're probably not more immature. They just seem like it just because we have so many freshmen in the room. But we do have a good young team, but they all have good heads on their shoulders, and it seems that they're all willing to push hard and work hard this year, which is good. Some of the expectations we're expecting is last year we sent 3 wrestlers to states. We had another 6 that were within one takedown or 1 point of going to states. And this year, I'm pretty much anticipating we have, I think, 5 or 6 girls right now, and every one of them showing that they have the ability that they can go to states. And I'm seeing through the boys, we have another 4 to 5 that could possibly go to states from there, and some that can place on both sides. So it's looking like we're going to have a good year if everyone sticks with it. We've already had an interesting season where we've had more. I make this joke every year with Joe, being he was the former head coach. That we have currently 50 signed up on Register My Athlete, but only like 20 or 25 are in the room. So my joke is that I've been able to recruit way more than he ever has, but also I've had less kids join or quit than that he's ever had. So, but the good thing is we have a good solid crew that I think is going to probably make it through. And if they stick with it, listen, pay attention. And that's one of the things I'm going to ask from all the parents is that just kind of encourage them because it is a tough sport. It's a hard sport. It's not like football where you can kind of rely on 11 or 10 other players to help you out, or basketball. You can just have one good player and win. It's one-on-one, them versus someone else. And it's one of those things where it's difficult. They work hard. They work out hard. They're going to be tired, sore, cranky. They're going to have every single mood and emotion. But the good thing about wrestling compared to every sport is football, you win a game, you're happy, even if you did good or not. Wrestling, you're going to be even ecstatic because when you win a match, you know you did everything and you get all the glory, you get all the happiness. And it's one of the things as parents and coaches, you're going to be very happy to see how much joy that brings to them. Anything else you want to say for expectations, Joe? All right, perfect. All right, so a couple needs like I was kind of getting into for kids and parents is just kind of for the parents, just make sure that like today we had some kids that took a hydration test. So they had to drink a lot of water. Some of them were trying to do or cut a little bit of weight so they can get to a certain weight class. It's one of the problems at Coronado where we don't necessarily have kids that are constantly working out, have high-end gym memberships or trainers. So they don't necessarily, when they come into wrestling, are at the weight that they should or that they're going to be. Every year we have kids that will do a hydration test. They'll drink a ton of water. They'll go and they'll end up weighing 5 or 10 pounds heavier than they should. And then they'll instantly drop all that weight immediately and wrestle well under the weight class that they are at towards the end of the season. To where I think last year when we went to sectionals, other than one wrestler, everyone was like 3 to 4 pounds under their weight, which is good. We don't have to worry about them making any weight, but it's one of those things to where it happens every year. So some of your kids may have worked out a little bit or may have tried to make those weight cuts today. So just make sure that they eat and they're drinking tons of water and liquids and taking care of themselves today. But also we're going to get a weight chart that we're going to kind of show them every single day and just make sure that they are staying on track of that. It's one of the things to where they take their body fat percentage, they weigh them for where they are fully hydrated, and it gives them a safe weight loss track of what they're allowed to get to. And we want to make sure that the kids are staying on track with that and not trying to exceed it, but also not trying to do anything drastic because it's one of those things we want to make sure that they're going to lose weight naturally. I've already had 2 girls that have dropped, I think, a combined 25 pounds in just 2 weeks. And it's just of them running and doing the exercises we're doing. So they're going to drop weight naturally. Some of these kids have a lot of baby fat on them they got to get rid of. So just make sure that they're eating plenty, drinking plenty, and also encourage them to work out and push themselves. Yeah, we are starting to kind of kick up the conditioning to get them ready for their meet that they have in, I believe, 11 days. Yeah, 11 days. So we're trying to kick up the conditioning for that. But like days like today, we had an easy day, easy like practice. We didn't do much conditioning. Encourage them to go out, get some runs in to get themselves ready. Because one of the things that's really going to make them angry is they're all going to be out of shape come the 24th, just like every other kid from every other school we're going to go against. And the more in shape they are, the better they'll feel, the less cranky they'll be, and the better they'll perform. So just encourage them to go out there, work out, and push themselves, but also don't overdo it. With that, anything to kind of add for that, Joe?
Just keep your eye on your kids when they are trying to cut weight. Make sure that they are not starving themselves. I think Coach, I'm just going to echo a little bit of that. That they can eat. They don't have to starve themselves. That salads, lean meats, they can eat even if they're trying to cut weight, and plenty of water. So don't let them think that they need to like starve themselves. That is a very bad thing to do because they burn a lot of calories in wrestling. So just kind of keep an eye on that, parents. But if you ever do have your concerns or you're thinking as students do, they miscommunicate what coaches tell them. So if something doesn't sound right to you, by all means, email Coach Harlow or talk to myself, and we'll help make sure we're all on the same page.
Yeah, and that kind of goes into the other thing of where we're going to kind of discuss of how we want all the parents to communicate with us. One of the things I will say is we're told to use Parent Square, Mr. Martin can confirm to that, being a teacher over at Coronado, that we're supposed to use that. And he also probably knows how many of you parents often use Parent Square and everything like that. So we understand how difficult it is, and I understand how annoying it can be. It's really hard to talk to parents and kids and relay information. As Joe said, we can tell your kids just something as blank or as plain as possibly can be, and they'll tell you something completely different that has nothing to do with what we said. And it might come out and sound terrible, or it might get confuse you guys. So anytime, you can always just contact us. One of the things I could do is I'll share my screen so I can kind of show it, the QR code that you had, Joe. Did you hit it? Is it? I can't hear you, Joe.
Were you able to share?
Is it showing my screen or no? Oh, there we go.
There you go.
Entire screen share. Okay. So one of the things that we're gonna want to do is, I don't know if your kid, have you handed these out to kids, Joe?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. If you haven't, one of the things is there's this document that I'm going to post some information and a bunch of links on Parent Square today. One of the things we're going to have is Joe created this QR code. What we're going to do is he's going to collect everyone's emergency contact information for Booster Club needs. The other thing that Joe said he wanted to do with it was he wanted to help Booster Club relay any information that I have and the coaches have to the parents, because that way it can get more to you. I understand sometimes you get bombarded with messages from the school district, you get bombarded with stuff from your teachers and everything, and then I don't really help when I constantly have things I got to let you all know. So wanted to make sure we can get all the parents' emails, phone numbers, get their names, so that way I can also kind of know what parents go with what kids. We have some parents, some guardians, some step parents. It's kind of hard to kind of keep track of names that can get confusing at times. So if you could, if you haven't done it yet, if you can scan this whenever, or either now or whenever I post a link to this document I have on the side, and that will kind of help us get some information. Then that way you'll have my number in case you ever need an emergency to contact me. You also have our emails that you can go and contact us from that, or we'll have your emails. We can send information out. You can also, does it? I don't know if it actually posts my email online, but I will pretty much put it in when Joe gets to talking about Booster Club, I'll put it in the chat for everyone to go. And then you can always email me anytime you want directly and just kind of get some information that way. It's a little bit easier. I'll respond to the email properly. Parent Square is not that great even on our end, and sometimes, and it can make things difficult. So I would say email is the best, because I will respond to that pretty much immediately, or whenever I have free time at work or at home. So that's one of the things I just kind of wanted to go over that and see if you guys can all fill that out. And that document I will post. It's essentially, it's something I've been working on since May, to try and get as much information out to all the parents so you could just read it and not have to ask me questions all the time. That way, if you ever have a concern or question, you could just look at it and see. Some information is going to need to be changed, just because me and Joe have been talking a lot throughout this off season to try and get things ready for your kids' season. And we've had to change a lot of information through it, to where we've had different number of kids that are coming through, and also different things that have come up through fundraisers and stuff. Other things I want parents to do is, Coronado is a kind of special school where kids happen to have many different things going around, many different things going on in life, where they got to help out family, go to different events. Some of you have already been doing it already, but just to kind of want to relate it to every parent, that we're fine if your kid needs to leave school for some major family events. If you happen to have church events, if you happen to have events where families are celebrating certain major milestones or things like that, or if they happen to, I can't even think of it off the top of my head, other types of things. Anytime they have that, if you you guys or can have your kids message me beforehand, let me know, either early in the morning or before practice starts. I want to at least know that they're going to be late. They're not going to be there. I know Mr. Martin had his son this morning or I think it was this morning or yesterday, messaged me that his son was not going to be there today because he was going to be off campus for other events. And that's something that I want. That would be great. So that way I can kind of plan to it. So that way I know if 5 kids are off to some youth event, that way I can kind of more focus on the other kids and not have to worry about things that aren't going to be, I don't know, my brain's going to get fried from long days, but essentially want to make sure that they communicate with me so that way I can know how to plan for practice that day. Also for events, if they happen to miss an event because they happen to have other things, I know some of our athletes, like we right now have one athlete that's on the band. Band's getting ready for, I believe, next week is their state championships. So they're going to be going to that and competing over there. And it's one of those things I just told them, if you can get me a schedule, I'll work with them. I'll work with every kid as long as they communicate with me. If the kids do not communicate with me, it's going to be frustrating, and I might get angry just because we have multiple kids that we got to keep track of that are doing multiple different things and want to make sure that they are communicating with us. If your kid is sick, we're never going to tell them not to go home. We've had it to where last year we had a nightmare season where we happened to have illness that went through our entire team, and it went at only in threes. I don't know why, but every week it was 3 kids this week, then it was 3 the next week, and 3 next week. So there's absolutely nothing we could have done other than quarantine for 2 whole weeks to stop it. But we would like to prevent that from happening. So if your kid happens to get sick, just keep them home, let them rest, let them recover, and bring them out. And we would hopefully don't want to try and not spread those things around so we can take care of them. But one of the things is I also want it as you. One of the other things is a lot of these kids, because they're young, they don't necessarily always want to work hard. They don't necessarily want to go to practice every day. It's tough. It's hard work, and sometimes they're going to try and say whatever they can to get out of it. So I want to try to prevent any, I want to pretty much try and prevent them from doing any type of abuse of the niceness that we're trying to have, because we need to have your kids in there for them to get better, but also we need to get there because some of you may not have, you're just assuming they're going to be at practice, and we want to make sure that they are taken care of, they're monitored, and they're not out doing, bad or dumb things. We want to make sure that they're doing good stuff. I don't think we're going to have too many issues with this group of kids. They seem to all have good heads on their shoulders, and I don't think we're going to have many issues with that. But just want to make sure that, again, you guys communicate with us. Let us know if you happen to have anything. So that way, if one of the kids does happen to be missing and they're not communicating, we can kind of narrow down what they're doing and why they're not at practice. And I think that anything else you want to add for communication, Joe? All right. Okay. With communication, we were going to go right into Booster Club. So, Joe, if you want to kind of talk on that.
All right. So I don't know if you guys got word of it, but basically there's cuts across the board, and SUSD cut athletics in half. And so I'm part of multiple boosters, both in the performing arts as well as I was last year's president for PTSO. Originally boosters were just kind of a club that would just get the extra special stuff. So, making sure every kid has, some, a treat, or, let's get them a t-shirt, or making sure, we made the year special, and which was a very good thing and a very needed thing for boosters. And yeah, maybe if there was a special piece of equipment, we would raise money for that. And so on some wells, it was to basically icing on the cake. Well, because of the cuts, and SUSD cut all athletics in half, um, we're now having to pay for the cake, and if we're lucky, we might have icing. So we're having to actually pay for the tournaments. So beforehand, SUSD covered all the tournaments. Now we're having to cover pretty much all but what, 3 or 4 tournaments, Coach Aaron?
We're covering JV, varsity, and girls, which ends up going to, I think, a grand total of around 12 or 13 tournaments. Now
Yeah,
that some of those might be combined, so it might be around like maybe 10 tournaments.
10 tournaments.
But
Gotcha.
we're paying for the first week, and I think the second week might be covered of our season. The rest, all of January, we're paying for.
Gotcha. So that has actually put a stress on a lot of the booster clubs. And so we're having to raise money for a lot of those things. So we've done a pretty good job so far with that, but we could always use some help. And we're trying to make it very simple here. So we really just have 3 meetings for the entire season. One in December, one in January, and then again for the banquet. Which is just to plan the banquet here. We've done already a lot of the fundraising. I think we're going to get another round of chocolate bars for that. But there's certain standards that we kind of have to do. And for the next 5 minutes. Congratulations, you're at a boosters meeting. All right. So we're going to knock a few things out of the way if you can help me with it, and it's not going to be too bad. One does come with a commitment, but it's up to you. The first, we do need to vote on a few things here. So one is we could use a new board for 25, 26. Now, my wife is already treasurer. Unless someone really wants treasurer, we're not going to be too hardcore on that. But we could use a president, a VP, and a secretary. Now, out of that, if no one wants to be president, I'm basically going to make our senior Elliot, who's helping us out, being president. Um, but if any parent would like to be president and kind of help out with some of this planning, that would be great. If does anybody want to volunteer being president? Going once, going twice. I will walk you through everything. All right. Anybody want to be secretary? I get it. It's a lot. Okay. All right. I'm not seeing anyone pop up. All right. So here's the vote here then. Let me just bring it back up. I'll still have to get someone in to be probably secretary here, but unless
Hey Joe, it's Tracy, Phoebe's mom. I don't mind stepping in as president.
oh, awesome. Then I'm going to throw Elliot as secretary then. All right.
And someone also messaged, said they don't know what that entails, but might be starting a new job, so can do whatever they can to help. Whoever Zoom user is.
And to be perfectly honest, it will be all of our meetings will be on Zoom, and we will manage it around your guys' schedule here. Phoebe's mom, what's your name again?
Tracy, I believe.
Tracy. Okay.
Correct, Tracy.
Let me just.
With an I or Y?
EY.
All right. And then who was the Zoom user that was messaging? If you could put your name in the chat, that'd be helpful.
Sorry. That was me,
Okay. And what was your first and last name?
Michelle Scott.
Michelle Scott?
Yeah,
Okay. And which one is your kid?
Ryzen.
Horizon, that's right. Yeah.
I will put you as VP, which basically means if Tracy can't be there, you run the meeting, but I'll basically
Okay,
tell you what to say.
it's basically on Zoom then the whole time, so I can do that
It's-
because I'm
yeah.
usually at a computer all the time anyway.
Excellent. Yeah, and we try to make this as simple as possible. I'm going to go ahead and you all can vote because you're all part of the Zoom. You're all part of our, according to our bylaws. So I'm going to share this document real quick and then I'll go through it.
And just to kind of say, the reason why Joe is wanting to get other people to do it is because Joe is going to be coming back on as a coach and being a stipend coach, which isn't really much money anyway, but he's going to be essentially a part of the staff. So he's not allowed to be a part of it. But Joe's still going to make sure everything is run through Booster Club and taken care of it. He used to run PTSO and a bunch of other things. So that's why he's never been able to be a part of it, but he's been just kind of running all the meetings. Sound about correct, Joe?
That is correct. That is
All
correct.
right.
It's not good that when you look at the booster clubs in Coronado, you see my name on everything. And so I'm trying to pass off power. Believe it or not, I'm not power hungry. I'm literally trying to hand power off. It's like, go run this, you go run that, but we try to keep things going. And I get it. Things are tough. But if you guys give me some leeways to make things happen, then I'll take it. So here's the two things we want to vote on. Um, this would be the board for 2025 that I have to put on the docket for SUSD. So it would be President Tracy, Vice President Michelle, Secretary would be Elliot, my wife Lisa would be treasurer, and then member at large is me, which is not voting now that I'm going to be a stipend coach. So does anyone disagree with this? All right, all in favor, say aye or put up a thumbs up on your thing.
I except for my last name doesn't have an S at the end.
Oh, okay, sorry.
That's okay.
Problem. And Tracy, what's your last name?
Lynch.
Say it again.
Lynch.
Oh, Lynch. Yeah.
Just like Phoebe.
Yep, there we go. So that will be our board that I'll put on the document. Now, right above it, we got to vote on our budget. Now, we've already done some things. So right now I'm making the budget just kind of this is our thing. And my wife will have a very good report for anyone who wants to be at the meeting. And we can email it to parents, even if you don't want to be at the meeting. Everything we do is an open book. Right now in our checking account, we have about 1,700. That doesn't include another I think about 400, maybe 450 that we have in cash that we still got to deposit because of chocolate sales. And we have been buying a few things since then. So we're proposing a budget for 25, 26. That's going to be about 5,500. And that doesn't mean we're going to spend all that. It just means that that just gives us a gateway to kind of get things done. Any questions on the budget or any criticisms or differences of opinion?
Um, one thing I just wanted to say too was the chocolate money will be coming to you guys soon too. Sorry about that.
Perfect.
I was unaware of what the date was exactly. So
But as soon as you get it in, the better for us.
yeah.
We are going to buy another 25 boxes, give every wrestler one more box just to
Mm,
collect some money, and then call it a day on that. So, um,
okay. And then I could probably help with some of the food stuff.
oh, perfect. Yeah. And that's will be some of the things that we might bring out there is even if you're not on as an officer, we might give you an email and saying, hey, we can use some boxes of Costco, Costco treats or we're doing this. Would anyone like to, participate? And then whatever comes in, comes in. But anyways, does anyone have any issue with this budget? We would just have to vote on it. Any questions or issues? All right. Can I get a motion to accept the budget as presented?
I second that.
All right, excellent.
Oh, the motion.
Yeah, no problem. Can I get a second?
Yep, sounds good.
All right, excellent. All in favor, say aye or give me a thumbs up.
Aye.
Aye.
I
All right, excellent. Thank you very much. Motion passed. I will conclude the meeting. See, painless. All right, painless. But if after this meeting, if you guys were thinking about it and just saying, "Hey, I really have some ideas, and I would really like to take this and run with it," trust me, I'm not going to be upset. I'll be like, "Please go, have fun." Tell us what you need from me. So, as you will see in this, my wife in December will actually put together a report of what we have spent since last June, which will be part of this. This budget's a little retroactive. And if you notice where it says tournament fees, we may have to pay for some tournaments coming here in January. So, we're hoping that once tournaments are paid, if there's extra money, then we will look at t-shirts or hoodies or things along those lines. But we'll set a meeting in the December meeting, and even if you're not a board member, if any parent wants to be a part of it, you're more than welcome to come. So it's an open meeting, okay? So any questions on boosters or anything like that? Okay, excellent. Aaron, back to you.
Right. So we're pretty much trying to run most of our things through Booster Club because the school district has a lot of red tape. It makes things a lot difficult if we wanted to run things through the wrestling club. It's one of those things. If I were to try and pay for things through our budget, it ends up being a hassle. A lot of paperwork. Got to get everything approved. We got to go through there. If we end up having money in our Booster Club, parents you can all vote. Let's say we decide we want to get all the kids golden jackets for some reason, if we happen to have it in the budget, you all can vote, fundraise the money for it, and get the kids jackets and go through whatever retailer we want and get it right away. We don't have to wait for things. So that's one of the benefits of why we're trying to do this, because if I were to do that through the kids, we have to get the kids to approve. Then I got sent to the school. Then the school would have to approve. The district would have to approve. Then they'd have to give an approved vendor, which may or may not be cheaper or better quality. And then that would kind of go through that of what we'd have to do. Now, that's essentially what we're going to be using right now currently for our budget. We have a few funds that we have. We have our Coronado Athletic Fund, which Joe was saying that school got a 50% cut across the board. Coronado Wrestling got a 60% cut from our tournament fees. So it's one of those things to where only 30 to 40% of what we actually... What's that? So we had about 30 to 40% of what we had last year. So we got to make up the remaining 60% for our teams. That's why we're using the Booster Club for that. Now, there is another option that we're able to use. And this is something that I'm going to want to talk about, because this is kind of one of the easiest fundraisers we can do. Selling chocolates can be a hassle. You got to keep track of money. For some of our kids, you got to make sure your dog doesn't eat the whole entire box, and then you just happen to lose all the chocolates, and then you got to worry about your dog. I'm not going to say names of who that was, but there's multiple different things that we can do. We've been trying to do car washes. We also have another fundraiser where we're going to do Smash Burger at the end, pretty much the day after our wrestling event. But one of the things that's the easiest one we can do, and I'll share my screen on this one, is the tax credit program. So essentially, if you go to Coronado Wrestling, Coronado website, and you type in tax credit, you'll come up to this page. And this page essentially just goes through the Arizona State Tax Credit Program. And the way it works is essentially $200 per adult can be donated from any adult in the state of Arizona, and that money will go towards an educational program to use for educational things. So one of the things that we can do that for is we can use this money for happen to go to an ASU wrestling event, or we can take it for when we go to Payson and Blue Ridge. We can buy food for the kids, so that way they have something to eat when they have that long 3-hour drive back from their event. But we can also use this money to pay for our tournaments. I did quick math.
Sorry to
What's
bother
that?
you too. Also, I did talk to them about the sponsorship stuff, and I guess we don't sponsor people or anything, but we can get you coupons. We can get coupons for people's taxes for a discount on their tax when they do the return.
That's
Their
right.
fees.
You work
There you
for
go.
H&R Block, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, we can talk about that in a bit too, because that'll
Okay.
be helpful. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, to kind of just for this tax credit thing, if we had 20 kids and each one of them got one adult to give a tax credit of $200, that would fund our entire wrestling tournament or wrestling season for all of our tournaments. And all the money that you guys have that we have fundraisers for the Booster Club, and all the money we have could be used to spend on your kids. So if we wanted to get them sweaters, hoodies, or anything like bags or something like that, we could use all that money on them. I would honestly, as a coach, prefer if we could do that. So that way we can give the kids something that they can be proud of and something that they can wear around. We've had, like Joe said, we've been able to give them hoodies, shirts, sweatpants, and they wear them. They wear them very proudly. They look nice. They enjoy them, and it's something that they get to kind of be happy that they get to wear, especially since no one else gets to say that they're a part of Coronado Wrestling. There's other things that we've done to where we bought shirts for kids when they place at tournaments. It's one of those things when a kid goes to their first tournament, or they happen to place at it, it's a big deal to where they like, or that they're happy about it, and they wear that again like a badge of honor around their chest and show off of what they did that week. So we're going to ask that every wrestler it doesn't have to be you if you can't afford it, but if you can get a family member, neighbor, coworker, like I said, it's one of the most win-win things you get, where I've already done it myself, and I know Joe has done it twice for him and his wife. Essentially, like I did, you give $200, you put it towards the wrestling program. That money goes towards the wrestling team. Then when you do your taxes next year, that money will be credited back to you in your state taxes. So essentially, the way I always think of it is it's a short-term $200 loan. That money goes to the wrestling program for us to use, and then we can put that towards going to tournaments and making sure that your kids happen to have a good season with that. So I'm going to ask that you guys can go and try and take care of that if you can. And I'll actually kind of go into another thing about this for your tax credits in a bit that you can do as a kind of a cheat code. But ask your family members, ask some friends. It's one of those things where if you ask around, you're bound to find someone that's going to hear about it and go, "That's actually a great idea. That's awesome. I would love to do it." And we can get as multiple tax credits donated to our team, and we can, again, like I said, fund the season to where we can travel, go to tournaments that we want, and make sure everything's taken care of. Now, another little thing I said that you can do with this is pretty soon we're going to have, I forgot to put it in the notes, it just kind of got to me, is we got to pay our athletic fees to the school. So the school requires that you pay athletic fees for a sport. That money will go into a pot that will then go to pay for officials and events and everything that they host at the school. It's $25 if you are free lunch, $60 if you're reduced, and for everyone else, it's $200. That $200 one is a huge increase from what it was last year. I think it was, what, 150 last year, Joe? Do you know, or unsure on that one?
Yeah, it was. It was
So I think
$150.
it was
It raised $50 for those who are not on free or reduced lunch. Reduced lunch, it raised $10. Free, it stayed at 25.
yeah, so it went up very steep. And one of the things you can actually do is if you can't quite afford the $200 fee, one, they will allow you to make payments. I think it's $25 minimum that you can put in towards it, and then you can continue the season. You just have to pay that in full if you decide to play any other sports. But the other thing you could do is you can use a tax credit for it. Now, we're not going to get any of that money. It's going to go towards the school fund or school budget, but you could take that $200. You can talk to Brandy, is it Bloomfield or Bloom? Is that how you say it? Yeah, Bloomfield. You can give that to her and mark that you want that to go towards your athletic fees. And then you can take that $200 and that will go directly towards your fees. And then you get your money back. So essentially, you pay $200 for the fees. You get that money back. You lose $0 for your kids to join the wrestling team and compete this season. Now, again, that doesn't help our team at all. And that's why we're asking for everyone to talk to family members, talk to friends, and see if they can get some more, because it's one of those things. If everyone can get an extra one aside from athletic fees, again, we can fund our entire season and take care of tournaments. And with that, I'm going to actually share one more time to kind of go over the schedule. And let me pop this up. Okay. Entire screen. Okay. So let me pop here. And essentially, are you guys seeing a bunch of weird colors? Is that a yes? If someone could speak out loud, because I took my screen away. Okay, good. So this is the overall schedule. It's going to be cluttered, but I did this because we got 3 teams we got to look for. So I'm going to post this on the meeting summary a little bit later, either today or tomorrow. Essentially, I have it marked. This will not be this color. I have my screen as black, so that way I don't burn my retinas. But red will be varsity. Blue will always be girls, and then green will be freshman JV because they're green to the sport. And then I highlighted where we're going to have wrestling meets. And then I also highlighted in pink girl events only and bolded some for tournaments. And then I'm going to scroll down. It can kind of show it individually. So as you can see, I should actually change that. It is the 24th. So on the November 24th, we have a dual meet at Glendale. That's again in 11 days. It's gonna be our first event. We did really well against them last year. Centennial's a really good team. The rest are kind of around our level. They're just a bunch of tough kids, but it's a good event. We're gonna have varsity, girls, and JV at that tournament or that event. That weekend, we said we're going to have 2 Saturday practices, one this Saturday and one next Saturday. And the reason why we're doing that is to give them the rest of the week off. So after we have practice on Tuesday, the 25th, we're not going to do anything Wednesday. Thanksgiving, you can have off. Friday, you can have off. And then Saturday, we're having an optional tournament over at Perry High School right here. And that is essentially going to be something where your kids can come if they want. It is not required. It's for JV, which is juniors, sophomores, and freshmen for boys, and then for girls of any age. It's $15 for that tournament. Because like we said, it's not required. We're going to just have everyone, if they want to go, it's just $15 to go is the entry. And you can pay that to the Booster Club, and the Booster Club will write a check, so that way we can go to that event. Joe can talk about if that can possibly be donations, quote, or however. He'll have to answer that, but we'll go from there and figure it out. And this is essentially the rest of the count or the schedule for everything. I'm not going to go through one individually because it's going to get a little bit confusing and kind of convoluted. So what I'll do is I'll scroll down a little bit to where I separated all the teams, or all the team schedules for it. So first, I will start with varsity because they're the easiest. Varsity this year is only going to have 4 tournaments, and they're going to have 8 duels. And we're going to have all of our in-section events, and we're also going to have wrestle a bunch of Scottsdale schools, as you'll see. So again, we have the Glendale one here. We have the ALA Mesa North, which happens to be, I think, in North Central Mesa, which will be on the 3rd. And then we're hosting our first one, which is an in-section event for the boys on the 8th. There's a chance probably girls will not compete at that one because, as you can see over here, they have an event the very next day. So I'm probably not going to have them compete that day, but I'll get into where they will actually compete for a home event later. Then we're going to have a varsity tournament at Hamilton I kind of skipped through a couple. We're going to have a Goodyear tournament where I'm going to take all wrestlers that are that are seasoned returning or that happen to show that they have good enough skills to give them an opportunity to compete. They'll get a lot of matches over at Goodyear, not Goodyear. And then the next week after we host our event, I'll take all the seniors to Hamilton. All the juniors will go to a JV tournament, which I'll explain on the next one. Then, like I said, we're going to Blue Ridge, which if none of you know where that's at, it's by Sholo. So it's about a 3-hour drive. We're getting a charter bus to go all the way up there. And it's one of those things to where another reason why we want to get tax credit money is because we're supposed to provide kids food. So that way when they go up or when they go to these events, and that's one of the events that we're going to have to provide for. And on the 14th, we're going to have an in Scottsdale event over at Chaparral. We're going to be going against Chaparral and Desert Mountain. It's one of the things where I, for years, have been trying to schedule every Scottsdale school, and it's gotten to a point where our school has now become the program where we're one of the better programs in the entire district. So now teams actually want to compete against us, and we have pretty much scheduled them versus Desert Mountain. Then we have another tournament for varsity at Santan Foothills. Then we host our senior day, which will be January the 20th. There, we're going to compete against San Manuel, San Carlos, and then we will also have Saguaro. It was going to be Notre Dame. They ended up having an event that was scheduled the very next day, so they backed out. But they decided, which I'll get to in a bit, to have another event with us. And then we'll go to Payson, which is where we're going to also have, as you can see, our section championships for the varsity team. Then we're going to go to Ironwood, and then we're going to end the season over at Notre Dame Prep. They wanted to have a match just us versus them. They told me that they wanted to make it a big, fun event for all the kids. And then hopefully they do have some girls. Hopefully they have some in our weight classes, so we can have something where the girls can be a part of as well and get to join in on that. But they said they wanted to make it a good, fun, competitive event. We're good friends with the coaches over there at Notre Dame. We get along with them, but it's also a good, friendly inner city rivalry that we have with them. Now, JV, essentially, when it comes to dual meets, are going to tag along with varsity. We cannot guarantee that they will have any matches at these events, but we'll try our best. Unfortunately, last year they moved us to a smaller division, where beforehand we would pretty much guarantee every kid would at least get one match. Now that we're in a division where we have 20 teams, it's a division with 20 teams, but they're all small schools. Doesn't mean that they're easy to compete against, but it does mean that they are smaller. So at least at Glendale, I would pretty much guarantee at Glendale, every one of your kids should have a match. At every tournament, your kids will wrestle. And then possibly at ALA Mesa, all your kids should have a match just because Benjamin Franklin will be there and they have a large team. Then we're going to go to a tournament at Millennium. Then we're going to host Phoenix Christian, who's a small team, Fountain Hills, who's a small team, and Globe, who's a smaller team. So no guarantee that your kids will have a match there. Then scroll up here to the top. Then we're going to have a tournament again at Notre Dame that they are hosting. We're going to help them out, and they are going to give us a discount on that tournament. At least that's what they were talking to us. They're still trying to figure that out. And then Blue Ridge and Chaparral. Hopefully we'll be able to get your kids some events, but like I said, they're going to just essentially tag along with varsity and go from there. Then we have our big event where we'll be having our senior day at Coronado. And then we have a tournament that weekend at Mesa. It's a good, fun, competitive tournament that we have for them. They seem to enjoy, and it's a good competitive tournament to kind of end the season with at that point. And then we'll have Payson and Notre Dame. Notre Dame's going to have a team that's similar size to us. There's a good chance we will get a match for everyone there, but it all depends on how the season goes. As you can see, if you look at the schedule in a calendar, you're going to have 2 tournaments here for varsity in December, 2 in January here. JV are going to have 3 in December and then 1 in January. Fortunately, the schedules are kind of wonky with JV tournaments. I'll have to talk to Joe, see if that's something we want to run a tournament next year for fundraising. But there is one other tournament we can add, but it's a $400 tournament, and we'll just kind of have to see how the season goes. A lot of your kids that are freshmen have shown interest in wanting to wrestle varsity, and I'm not going to let any of them wrestle on varsity unless they show me they can handle it, they are willing to put in the work, and that they're going to give it their best no matter what. And if that happens to get to a point, we do have a couple tournaments that we will probably bring them to. Santan Foothills right here seems to be one that's made. They specifically said they want to have it as a developmental tournament. So we'll probably bring some kids to that tournament to give them an extra one in January for those that are able to handle the competition for that one. So there's probably going to be a lot of questions on JV. If you can, just kind of save those, email them about me, or you can ask it once we get everything finished. Now I wanted to get kind of the confusing one, which is girls. So AIA says for boys, you can have 5 tournaments in a season, maximum. And then the rest, you can have up to 12 events total. And as you can see for varsity, we have 12 events, we have 8 dual meets, 4 tournaments. And for girls, it's a lot more confusing. So they said we can have up to 8 tournaments and up to 12 events total. So we have the Perry tournament here, which again is volunteer. We have the Buckeye tournament, which the boys are going to, Hamilton tournament, which the boys are going to. Then we have a Barry Goldwater tournament, which is a very good event that we went to last year that we enjoyed. The Peoria tournament, which is another good tournament. It's going to be it's going to be at Peoria High School. It's a very tough tournament, and it's one of those things. We're only going to bring the girls because they happen to have a cheaper rate for that. And then we also have the Mesa tournament, which is a one-day tournament, and then Ironwood. So we have a lot of events from there. But if you look at all the numbers here, you'll probably know I might have changed it. But at first, when I looked at it, it was not 12 events. It was more than that. So what happens is we're going to have 3 events, which they have jamborees, which are girl events. They invite about 10 to 20 teams to go to those. And we will be going to those events. I will not be at practice those days. I will be with the girls all day at what we're probably going to go to Vista Grande for the 2nd. I got to confirm with them. We're for sure going to Cactus on the 9th, and then we're probably going to Australia Foothills on the 13th of January. Again, I got to confirm with them. And then what we're going to try and do is, if we can get about 3 more girls to join a team, we will schedule an event for the girls to have the first ever all-girls wrestling event in the city of Scottsdale. Right now we're at 5, and I told them if we can get to around 8, we'll do that. We do have 5 for sure. I have another girl that's been sick that might join, so I'd put us at 6. And then I've heard of rumors of other girls joining. So if you happen to have any friends or family that have girls at Coronado, convince them to join so that we can schedule an event. If not, we're going to try and have a senior day on the 20th, where I'm going to message a bunch of schools and see if they can bring some wrestlers in the weight classes to give our girls a chance to have an event at Coronado. It's one of those things where it's kind of messed up how the schedules work for girls in Arizona. It's only, I think, about an 8-year-old sport in Arizona, and they're still trying to figure it out for girls. But it's growing rapidly, and it's getting better and better quicker. But until we can get full teams across the state, it's one of those things that's going to be more challenging to host events. So if we can recruit more girls, we'll do that and host an event sometime in January. If not, their senior day will be the 20th. But we usually do bring girls to boys' events because if they don't happen to go to this Perry tournament, or if they happen to skip another one, we can always bring them to schools, and sometimes schools will have other girls there. And that way we can get them a couple extra matches within some girls that happen to be in their section. So that's kind of the confusing side of what the schedule is. I might have confused some of you a little bit even more, but I hope that kind of clears it up. I will be posting it. You can also look up this information on AZ Preps 365 online. It should have most of our schedule up and available for varsity and for girls. Some information is going to change on those. The boys should be pretty set. The girls should change. But with that all being said, I think that covers most of the basic information that I've had. I'll ask Joe if he had any more information to add, and then after that we can open up for questions, or we can kind of get going. You can all hopefully get my email in the chat box, and you can send me all your questions. Do you have anything to say, Joe?
Aaron, where exactly are you going to post it? That was a couple of questions that came up.
The schedule I will post on Parent Square for sure. And then if everyone can get us their emails, I will send all this information to Joe, and he will email it to everybody. So that way we can make sure everyone for sure gets all the information.
I got a few emails already. So yeah, as long as I put in a link of that emergency contact, the QR code that Aaron was talking about. So parents are able to do that. You'll be communicated with.
All right, and then all duels will start usually around 4:00. If they happen to start, the Notre Dame one might be later, I will assume, but almost all of them will start at 4:00. And the time when they end, unfortunately it ends when it ends. Is the best answer we can give you. They could go really quickly. The ones that we hosted last year, I think our senior day, I think we were out of there by like 5:30. And then when we went to Glendale last year, we were out of there by 8:30. So it's going to depend on how things go. If the matches go really quickly, we can end the event really quickly. If they go really long, which sometimes happens, it can go pretty long. So there's no guarantee when it's going to end. We'll try to keep everything updated. One of the things I'm also going to try and do is we're going to try and I'll also send this out in the emails, is we have an Instagram page. We're going to try and keep post updates on there, let people know when we're going to kind of end things, send some pictures, send some updates of how kids are doing at certain events, and go and give all the information out. So if you want, I think it's Coronado Wrestling AZ is what I picked it as for Instagram. You can follow us. We'll post videos and some highlights from events from there. And we'll also post information for events. If there happens to be a date change or a time change, I'll post it right there, probably on that. For tournaments, that's something we're going to have to update you guys as it comes. Each tournament starts differently, and unfortunately, not every tournament is run the same. Some of them try to start they'll say they'll start at 9, and then they won't start till 10 or sometimes 12. And it's just because they're not really organized well, or they're not run well. It's high school coaches running it with kids running around everywhere, and it can sometimes run very great and very smoothly, and sometimes not. Like Mesa runs very smoothly, runs pretty much the best tournament we go to. And then you have some tournaments that we used to go to, like Arizona College Prep, that would always start later. And every week I'll post when events go. When we get to tournaments, I'll post all the flyers so you'll have all the information. Most of the tournaments, when they pass out flyers, they have more information than you actually want, which is good. They'll tell you where to park, how much it costs, how to get tickets, and know everything in advance. So I'll try and post every one of those flyers every single week when I give a weekly update of what we're doing that week, so no one has to worry about what's needed or where to go or what's going on that week. So I'll try to every week give a weekly update of what's going on that week, and so on from there. Was there any other questions that you had, Joe, that were coming through, or was that okay? Was there any other questions that anyone wanted to kind of ask before we get going? Take as much time you can ask it. This is where you can kind of talk to us straight up and get any answers you need without having to shoot emails and confusion stuff.
Coach Aaron, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording so parents feel comfortable in asking any questions they want.
Perfect.
So Aaron,